I don't know how else to say this. I cannot bring your proposal any further. The translator spoke in a neutral tone without pity. Ibaru continued his effort to reason with the ambassador. I am not overstating this crisis. It is a matter of life and death for millions. Is there not any way for you to help me get heard? The being sitting on the opposite side of the lavish table gesticulated with its multiple spindly arms while speaking its barely audible words. Maybe these motions were meant to soothe him. Maybe they meant something else entirely. Ibaru had no idea. So he just waited anxiously for the translator to speak up again. When you bring this proposition by a formal delegation, I can carry it to the secondary chambers. If a secondary majority agrees to bring it further, it can proceed to the primary level, and only after passing that, a deal can be negotiated. These are the proceedings. But I told you, I am here because the other continents refuse to help. The official delegation will never speak for us. Please, I implore you. More gestures followed. Their meaning was quite clear as the being motioned towards the door. Then this session is adjourned until such a time when you can secure the backing of your own people. Outside the door, Ibaru cursed tonelessly. It was his 5th day and 8th meeting on the Citadel station, and he hadn't made any progress. He lifted a flap of heavy cloth on the wide sleeves of his ceremonial overcoat to reveal a tiny watch sewn to its underside. Seeing the time, he knew that he didn't have to hurry to his next appointment. It would also be his last one, since his visitor's permit would expire this evening. Orienting himself through his mobile network access device, he made a leisure walk through the bright and well-decorated hallways until he reached the main ring where he found the closest metro station. While he stared out the floor-to-ceiling windows of the passenger wagon, barely noticing the light show going on in the metro tunnels, he pondered the futility of his actions here on this station. It had been extremely difficult to get time with any ambassadors, and he had only gotten to speak to the lowest-ranking representatives of some minor Citadel species. Of those, 4 had cancelled while he had been in transit. Those other meetings went quite the same as his last one. Everyone here was set on following lengthy procedures that required the involvement of numerous other politicians. Ibaru carried those thoughts with him as he stepped out of the metro station in the section where he would find the offices of the ambassador he was up to meet next. Arriving there early, he had to wait in the lobby of yet another opulent government office. He wasn't the only one there, though he didn't pay much attention to the colorful species that came and went. Seeing the many different beings that visited and worked in this place would have impressed him hugely upon his arrival. But the initial wonderment wore thin quickly, and now he felt numb to it. At that moment, he was more engrossed by his mobile network access device as he went through his proposal once again in preparation. It didn't take as long as it should have until he heard the secretary behind the central desk of the lobby to call out his name. He scrambled to get up and go to the desk. "Hello, visitor Ethanel." The secretary butchered his name. "The ambassador regrets to inform you that they will not find time today. There will be another opening for a meeting 12 days from now. Do you want to sign for that slot?" "What? No, I need to speak with them today. This will not be Ibaru couldn't hear the words over his own frustration and anger making his blood rush. "You confirmed the meeting today and I'm here. I demand to be seen." "I understand. But as you signed, it was stated that signing for a time slot is no guarantee for speaking time if other, more urgent matters arise." "This is urgent," he said louder than necessary. "I am here about a catastrophe that threatens millions of lives." "Then I strongly recommend you to contact the Citadel Crisis Center as they are equipped to handle crisis response." "No, it hasn't happened yet. They won't." He put his hands together to quickly collect himself. "I am trying to prevent this catastrophe from happening. This is why I am seeking your government's help. So just let me speak to the ambassador. Please leave now, or you will be escorted out." Ibaru turned around without a word and walked out of the embassy. His feelings had gone from exasperation to complete numbness, and his surroundings blurred into nothingness around him as he just made one step after the other along some random path. Though he didn't get the chance to gather his thoughts as someone was yelling from the hallway behind him, "Ambassador!" As he was led along a narrow, free pathway through the dining area, he observed the human he was following. They looked markedly different from the one at the entrance, with a darker skin tone, smaller size, and black hair. Behind the dining area, a barely noticeable entranceway to another room was hidden. Instead of the open floor plan, this area had a row of seating nooks to one side. Their guide led them towards one of them and indicated one of the two benches by the narrow dining table. The other bench was occupied by a human that yet again had a differing skin shade, being nearly white. "Do you know what you want to order?" the guide asked. "Yes, I will take a medium-sized serving of curly fries packaged to go. Please bring a sampler dish for my friend." With Zeus's order, the black-haired human left. "How will this help me? Zeus, please explain." With one of his long hands, they indicated the human on the opposite side of the table. "We will chat." And without losing a beat, the human spoke up. "Hello, I'm Louis Cottrell. Nice to meet you. I am the one carrying 3 red flower petals. I have come with unofficial Ambassador Ibaru Itinu Inu Ivanoel because of an important mission seeking help to avert a catastrophic event." "Aha," Louis turned towards Ibaru. "Tell me about it, please." Despite remaining reluctant about this whole setting, Ibaru gave a quick rundown. "I am seeking help because the continent state I represent stands before ecological disaster. The fertile volcanic soil rings that provide a majority of our farming ground are being poisoned. We have regular volcanic activity which is normally beneficial to plant fertility, but in the last season we had experienced an intermediate throwout that carried previously unencountered metallic compounds. The harvest in this season was negatively impacted by the changes in the soil, and we fear that the greater throwout we are expecting at the end of this season will deliver this poison to all our farm grounds. My continent state is already experiencing a food shortage, and we would not be able to endure more losses. It would cause a great famine and probably millions, if not tens of millions of deaths. Unfortunately, we cannot find help from the other 2 continent states on my planet, as they are locked in a standoff war due to issues with territorial sovereignty. My government has considerable military power and is so coercing a ceasefire between them. Us falling into a crisis is something they will welcome, which is also why they have stolen our voice from the delegation." Louis picked up a cup Ibaru hadn't noticed until now and took a swig. As they set it down, he saw that it contained an absolutely black liquid that looked not fit to drink. "I am guessing you tried to contact the Citadel Crisis Center." "I have, yes. They do not classify our situation as an active crisis, and they also demand the request to come from the official delegation of my species." "Ah, yes. So you are trying to bypass the official channels and get a Citadel member on your side to bring this whole situation up in the big meetings." "That is why I had left my planet in secrecy, yes." They were then interrupted by delivery of the ordered food. The guide human from before handed over a small carton box to Zeus and put down a plate before Ibaru that was loaded with different piles of shapes of the same shade. The strange smell he had noticed outside had become markedly stronger, clearly emanating from this potatoes food. Zeus spoke up from the side, carefully indicating the piles of different shapes on Ibaru's plate from afar. Baked wedges, crispy chips, hash browns, thin fries, curly fries, thick fries, roasted pieces, spiral, and grid fries. All of these are just cuts of potatoes? There are variations in cooking, but essentially yes. The specialty is the curious combination of taste and consistency. Zeus and Louis were both watching him, apparently waiting for a reaction. So out of politeness, Ibaru took the eating utensil that had come with the plate and stabbed it into one of the thick fries. Though he succeeded, he was hindered by the surprisingly hard outer layer of the piece. Biting into it, he quickly understood what Zeus had meant. This fry had a crispy outer layer with a soft and a mushy core, giving his teeth something to bite into that gave way easily to offer a creamy mouthfeel. The taste was unfamiliar and subtle, and the aroma that he now recognized as a slightly burnt or smoked smell fit nicely to it. All in all, it was a somehow very satisfying thing to eat, and he quickly tried a potato wedge. This was similar, but the crispness felt distinctive and the mushy core had a different consistency. It also felt nice to eat, so he jabbed the next thing. The hash brown had been the last he tried, and it turned out to be his favorite, despite it having the strangest appearance. Only then he did come back to his senses and put down the eating utensil. Trying to hide his body language, he composed himself. Thank you, Zeus. This was an interesting experience, but I am not here for the food. Then he turned to Louis to continue the conversation. I want to know if you can help me get heard. We are enlisted to become a provisional candidate for a member species. So no, we have nothing to say here yet. But even if we could let you speak, all that official stuff with agreements and whatnot would take many cycles. You do know that? There are acts that can be used to speed up the proceedings. Louis shook his head side by side, though that unsubtle gesture told him nothing. The one thing I can tell you about the Citadel is that these legal processes have developed over so many cycles with an interwoven dependency that no one can tell how long anything is going to take. So, any help would be too late, and the Citadel will only offer assistance when my people are already starving? Ibaru had spoken louder than he had wanted to. You want to say I have come here for nothing? That's not what I said. What you need first and foremost is help with that current food shortage and farmland issue, right? Yes. Well, we don't have an official delegation to send, but there could be a free trader coming by your planet in a few days. They could carry, let's say, advanced chemical analysis equipment and some kilotons of surplus rations. They could be looking for whatever your continent state specializes in exporting, and then you maybe do some trades, completely independent from any relations with our species or any agreements. Won't other Citadel species have objections to that? We have done this before. You see, we have many free traders and they visit a number of them as well. Thank you. Ibaru gave a nod, and after a thoughtful pause, he added, So the restaurant is only a front, so you have a place on the Citadel to handle unofficial trade agreements? Basically, yes. But there are so many people here. Why did you choose such a popular dish? The human put their hands on their head. We didn't know. Ibaru let his gaze wander over his plate once again. One other thing. If I could put in a request for those rations? Louis made a rolling gesture with his hand, indicating for him to go on. Could you possibly include some potatoes?